In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about the most important test that you can run for your child. This is called the organic acids test. And what organic acids are, they're metabolic byproducts that represent our metabolism's functions. And we can measure them in urine, which allows us to take a peek into a person's how their body is functioning. The great part about the organic acids test is that you can collect the sample at home. It's a small urine sample, about at least 10 to 50 milliliters. You freeze that, call the courier, schedule the pickup, and ship it to the lab, and they have them analyze it, send you the results. So it's very non-invasive, very easy to take. I apologize, my dog is chewing a bone in the background, but I really had to record this episode because I'm pressed for time. So please excuse the chewing noises in the background. So the organic acids test, I'll briefly go over the most important sections that as they pertain to autism, right? So the test covers yeast and fungal overgrowths, bacterial markers, neurotransmitters, so chemicals in the brain, nutrient status of several vitamins, antioxidant status, oxalate metabolites, and certain other markers for glucose and fatty acid metabolism. So these I'll explain why these are important when it comes to testing your child. So if you look at the show notes for this episode, I will have a link to the organic acids test that I think is the best one on the market out there. It's from the Great Plains Laboratory. They're in the United States, and their test has about 75 markers. So just to go over the most important markers when it comes to autism. The first page of the organic acids test result has yeast and fungal markers. When these are elevated, they indicate the presence of fungal species such as yeast, like Candida, or certain mold species. So when you see an elevation of these, you know it's an indication your child has either an yeast overgrowth or there may be some mold toxicity, and it may be worth running a mold toxicity test or a mold exposure test. Now in autism, as I write in chapter 3 of my book, Candida is very, very common. So the organic acid test really is useful in seeing whether it is a problem for your child. Chances are Candida is a problem. And the great part, when you know that it is a problem, you can do something about it. So with herbs and probiotics and certain other supplements, you can really bring those Candida numbers down, because like any other pathogenic organism, it will undermine your child's health. Then on the organic acids test from the Great Plains Lab, we have bacterial markers. So several markers here indicate the presence of pathogenic or bad bacteria, harmful bacteria. And then there's specific markers for Clostridia bacteria. This is a family of about 100 or so bacteria, and some of them are very common in autism. For example, C. difficile, Clostridium difficile is very common in autism, and it can definitely cause a lot of health problems, just like Candida. So having this data is extremely useful in helping your practitioner to devise a protocol to bring your child's gut function back into health. The great thing about the Great Plains Lab report is they give you a lot of information, so they help you interpret the test. So even if your practitioner has never run this test before, you are going to get a lot of value, and they will get a lot of information to help you, make some changes to the diet or add some supplements that will really help improve your child's health. So that's the pathogen markers. Another area the organic acids test has is oxalate metabolites. So oxalic acid or oxalates, they're these compounds in plants that have been shown to be high in autism, and they're basically like these crystals. They can form crystals in the body. They can bind with certain minerals like magnesium, iron, So not only do they inhibit the absorption of those minerals, they can actually, those crystals have very jagged edges, and they can get lodged into tissues, the brain, muscles, even the eyes in some people, and they can cause pain, discomfort. So they've been shown to be elevated in autism very often. And also when there's a presence of yeast or fungal or candida overgrowth, as I mentioned earlier, that's something we can already test with this test. There seems to be an association with high oxalic acid, because some of those mold species can produce oxalate crystals as well. So it could be a double whammy. If the diet is high in oxalates and your child has a fungal infection, it can really increase this oxalic acid marker. Now, another area the Great Plains organic acid test tests for is certain vitamins, so B2, B5, B6, B12, vitamin C, biotin, coenzyme Q10, and N-acetylcysteine. So these nutrients, you can get a glimpse into your child's nutrient status. So it's very useful because in autism, vitamin B6, B12 can often be low, so it can really help you inform the supplement protocol. Another area on the organic acids test is that of neurotransmitter metabolites. So these can show us levels of dopamine, norepinephrine or epinephrine, and serotonin in the brain and central nervous system. And these are important because certain bacteria like Clostridia, they can cause imbalances in dopamine and norepinephrine. Certain elevations in serotonin can cause behavioral issues. So it's important to see what the current neurotransmitter balance is, so that your practitioner can do something about it. Another area that the organic acids test tests for is for certain markers that can indicate mitochondrial dysfunction. And the mitochondria are these little organelles inside our cells that are responsible for making most of the energy in the body. So, as I've said on previous episodes, it's common in autistic children to have some type of mitochondrial dysfunction. And it goes unnoticed for many, many months and years in many kids. So seeing these markers on the organic acids test can really prompt you to kind of say to your practitioner, to go to your doctor, to refer you to a specialist that can do more in-depth test for mitochondrial dysfunction. Because mitochondria produce most of our energy, when they're dysfunctional, you can imagine if the cells of the gut or the brain or the muscles don't have energy to do their jobs, then of course how can we expect kids' health to be in optimal states? The organic acids test also has some indicators of detoxification. So there's a very important antioxidant in the body called glutathione, and the organic acids test has markers that when elevated can show a deficiency in this antioxidant. And this antioxidant is very important for immune function, for detoxifying heavy metals, chemicals. So when it's deficient, your child's detoxification capacities are reduced. So you really, really want to know if your child is deficient in glutathione, so you can supply the building blocks that the body requires to build it. And these are, amino acids and things from food that are they're found in food, but they're usually not of a high quantity. So, if your child's detoxification capacities are being overtaxed, what they get from the food may not be enough to kind of keep that balance. And then, of course, it can also prompt you to figure out, okay, what is causing the depletion of the antioxidants. So it could be toxic exposures, it could be gut infections, and so on and so forth. And the beauty of the organic acids test is that it will give you data on many of these things, such as, yeast and bacteria and things like that. There's a ton of other markers on the organic acids test, but the ones I covered so far are probably the most useful when it comes to testing your child specifically, right? So please check the show notes for the link to the lab, the Great Plains lab. There's also a link to the test itself. Read up about it and talk to your practitioner to see if they can order this test for you, because this is the most important test that you can run. And that's not just my opinion, but many experts and clinicians would be of the same opinion. So I hope you found this information useful, and see you on the next one.